Hi, it's Hope and welcome to the video. As you can tell by the title and the thumbnail, this is going to be my November mid-month wrap-up, and it's insane to think that it's already the middle of November because to me it still feels like it should be October. So this is going to be the 7 books so far I've read in November. So we'll just go quickly through these, and yeah, some of them I have more thoughts than others, and one I literally just finished 10 minutes ago, so my thoughts are probably going to be wild on that one. So the first book I read in November was Her Soul for Revenge by Harley Laroux. Technically I started this in October, but I finished it in November, and I read I think most of it in November, so it's counting as November. But essentially, Her Soul for Revenge, we follow Juniper, who she is essentially supposed to be sacrificed to this god, but she ends up escaping this cult that was trying to sacrifice her, and she ends up making a deal with a demon, essentially. Her soul, like, she gives him her soul in exchange for getting revenge on the people that wronged her, and this demon's name is Zane, and Zane and Juniper get this revenge while also developing a relationship, and I really enjoyed this. I gave this 4 stars. It is the second book in the Souls trilogy, although they can be read as standalones, and I do think I prefer the first one, but this second one was really good. It definitely is 18 plus mature content for sure. At the content warnings, those content warnings are there for a reason, because let's just say I didn't read the content warnings, or I didn't read them good enough to the point that something showed up and I was like, uh-oh, I've been scarred. I'm kidding. But I did really enjoy the characters, and I enjoyed seeing more of this world, and I am very excited for when the third book comes out, which I don't know when that will be, as maybe 6 months from now, because book 1 and 2 are published 6 months apart, so maybe book 2 and 3 will be that time frame as well. I'm not sure. The next book I read was War Crown by Elizabeth Brown, and this is the second book in the Freedom's Harem series, the first book being Blood Crown, where essentially in Blood Crown we follow Ashira, who she's just taken over control of this country, and she is the first ever queen, and she is changing up some things about how the country runs. The first thing being abolishing slavery, as she was a slave herself. And essentially, because she's now the queen and changing all these rules, a bunch of advisors and princes or kings from various other countries on the continent have to come to form alliances, and in doing so, it is revealed that they all are her mates. She is a succubus, so multiple mates make sense, and this is a smutty fantasy. There's smut in every chapter, although even in saying that, there's still a plot, even though there's so much smut. And the second book, War Crown, I loved. I give it 5 stars. I gave both of them 5 stars, but War Crown I gave 5 stars. I loved it, and we've added 2 more people to the harem, so there's now up to 6 love interests, or 7 including Ashira herself. And I love this because in this harem there is a female, so there's female scenes, which you rarely see in any sort of harem books, because it's kind of typically not, but I did really enjoy it, and I am very excited for Immortal Crown whenever that comes out. I think it's supposed to be January, but it might get pushed back because of when that timeline was originally told. It was an author duo, but then one of the authors dropped out for reasons, and then now Elizabeth is left on her own, and she's pregnant with twins, so I don't know how much energy she's gonna have to write the third book, so it might be pushed back maybe February or March of next year or later, and I will gladly wait for that, even though I want book 3 yesterday. The next book I read was Into the Dark by Dana Isley, and we have a pattern with, I started the month out with a bunch of smut, because essentially Into the Dark we follow a serial killer who is trying to find his next victim. And in doing so, he ends up stumbling upon this girl named Lyra, but instead of killing her, he ends up intrigued with her to the point that he becomes so obsessed with her that he wants to form a relationship, and Lyra is obsessed with the idea of a relationship, so the two of them kind of hit it off and start a relationship, and has no happily ever after. Spoiler, it ends in suicide for both of them. Very dark content warnings. I am talking literally, there was a content warning that I was like, oh yeah, that's gonna be okay, but then it literally physically made me ill. I don't think I've ever had a book in the like content warnings per se make me physically uncomfortable to the point that I had to like pause reading and go, I'm sorry, what? But in like the best way possible, if that makes any sense of how it was like. I jokingly was like, I'm not gonna finish this book. I did, obviously, and I gave it, what did I give it? I gave it 4 stars. I forgot my rating there. But I didn't enjoy it. It hit all the boxes I wanted it to. And honestly, I'll read anything by Dana Isley, like even things that I'm like iffy on, I'll be like, if she writes it, I'll probably read it. So the next book was The Foxhole Court by Nora Sakavic, and originally I wanted to try to read all 3 books back to back, but I didn't. But I will be reading the next 2. But this essentially, I gave 4.5. This was a reread. Essentially, in this book, at least, we follow Neil, who ends up getting this scholarship to this university to play Xe, and Xe is essentially kind of a made-up sport. It is. Let me try to find the sticky note where it is explained. Well, there's an explanation of exactly what the book is. There's an explanation of exactly what the game is in this, but I couldn't find it. Apparently, I didn't have it. But essentially, it's like lacrosse meets hockey-ish, full contact, and essentially Neil accepts this scholarship to play the game, even though it will bring him into the spotlight, and he's been on the run from his father and his like family for multiple years, and this brings him in the spotlight because the team is well known, and that's kind of the gist of it. And this gave 4.5 stars. Again, I love this series. I love this book. It is like, even though it's a 4.5, it is like low-key a favorite. Like the whole series is like one of my favorite contemporary series. I love the characters. I tabbed it. I love just the found family and the way that it's like almost like everybody hates each other, but they're still family and they still like make a good team. And yeah, I am very, 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 very excited to continue on the series, as I will be starting book 2 tomorrow. I don't know. So the next book I read was If This Gets Out by Sophie Gonzales and Cale Deitrich, and this I gave 5 stars, but it doesn't come out until December 7th. I was lucky enough to get an arc through NetGalley. And essentially this, we follow the boy band Saturday as they are about to go onto their, like, I think it's like their tour of Europe or something. And in this we have 2 members, Zach and Ruben, who, while they're on tour, they kind of start to develop feelings for each other and then end up starting dating. That is not a spoiler, that is pretty much in the description. And it is just the 2 of them discovering their relationship, realizing their relationship, and then eventually wanting to come out to the world, but their management company won't let them, and it's that story, and it is a very cute, fluffy book. I will be doing an entire review of this book. That will be uploaded probably sometime closer to the release date, as I still need to film it. But I love the characters. I loved how we dive into some of the realities of behind the music scene and things that you don't think of as a fan. As to things of like what can be posted on social media, what can be done in public, what can be done on stage, like what one action can do, and also the pressure and the stress that management companies put groups under. And yeah, that's kind of all I have to say, I guess. The next book I finished was Firekeepers Daughter by Angeline Boulley, and this, how am I going to describe this? Essentially, we have Danis, who she originally wanted to go away for university, but after events happen in her life and that makes her forced to stay in her local town of Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan? Yes. Did I say that correctly? Yes. And essentially, there are now these, okay, and then there's this boy named Jamie who moves into town and joins Danis's brother Levi's hockey team, and Danis and Jamie get close. But then things get brought to light when a FBI investigation occurs over this string of meth that has been created seemingly in the area, and Danis has to help the FBI figure it out. And this is full of indigenous culture because it is set in Sault Ste. Marie, which there is the Sugar Island reservation that Danis's family is a part of on her father's side, and we go through so many things. This is kind of like a mystery as to who created the meth, how the meth was created, and all of that. And this has the trope of fake dating, which I had no idea, and like you should have seen my face when I was like, the idea of like these two characters should fake date, and I was like, I'm sorry, what? I love this. I gave this 5 stars. This book honestly might be in my top 10 books of the year, as well as If This Gets Out. I should have mentioned that too. Like, I love that book. But back to this. And I love the way that I learned multiple things about the culture of like indigenous people, and like the way that it was incorporated in this book, but it wasn't like thrown into your face of like, oh, this, like all these facts. It was woven in so beautifully. It was almost insane of like how it just felt so natural, and the way that it was written is beautiful, and like I genuinely loved this. And yeah. And then the final book that I've read so far is Our Valentines by Chloe Gong, and this I gave it 4 stars. If you didn't know what this book is about, it's the sequel to These Valentines, where in These Valentines we follow Juliet, who has just moved back from America to Shanghai. We are in 1926, and Juliet is the heir to the Scarlet Gang, and when this mysterious illness breaks out, she needs to team up with her enemy/ex of Roma, who is the heir to the White Flowers, and their family has family feuds that has gone back like multiple generations, and the two of them have to work together to uncover who is in charge of this illness and stop them. And in Our Valentines, we are 4 months later as things happen, and holy shit, I cried at the end of this book. I literally just talked to my vlog about spoilers, so I don't need to talk about those, but this book was a roller coaster of emotions. It was like, oh my gosh, it had so many tropes that I love, and I genuinely, I'm like, I don't have thoughts, because this book I literally finished like 15 minutes ago. And yeah, it was definitely a very intense read. I do think I like Our Valentines more than These Valentines, just because I think we know more about the characters, and there's just more stuff. Although I will say, put it this way, this book is like amazing, but it has a little too much political aspects for my liking, which I know it's meant to, so I just don't think this book is immediately for me, although I did really enjoy it. I love the characters, I love the atmosphere, although the plot's iffy and the political aspects are a little too strong for me, but it's still 4 stars. I still enjoyed it like so much. So those are the 7 books, yes. I didn't think there for a second. Yes, the 7 books that I've read so far in November. Let me know what you have read in November so far. If you haven't read anything in November so far, what you want to read, or just in general, talk about books in the comments below. I love to hear what people are reading, or what people are wanting to reading, or books in general. But I really hope you enjoyed this video, and bye!